criticism than they ever had been before, especially in the US. So one of Harry and Meghan's biggest deals was the Spotify deal. And Meghan, of course, released the Archetypes podcast, which was a 12-episode series. Less than a year after that, this deal spectacularly fell apart. At first, it was just a mutual statement saying that they had parted ways, and it seemed very amicable between Spotify and Harry and Meghan. But very quickly after that, the narrative changed. All of a sudden, there were sources from within Spotify's camp leaking stories that there was a perception that Harry and Meghan were lazy. They hadn't delivered on what they'd promised. But the crushing blow came when one of Spotify's executives said on the record that they were effing grifters, and then threatened in a joking way to release the story about the pictures that Harry was putting forward, basically making a complete mockery of what they were suggesting they would produce. It was that first really big chink in the very premium brand that we'd seen for Harry and Meghan, because the deal has not worked out. They were not able to deliver, it seemed, on what they'd promised. And also, suddenly people were laughing at their content ideas.
To describe them as grifters, I mean, was pretty devastating. I think the point is that it doesn't matter if you are a member of the royal family or not. It might get you a meeting with Netflix and Spotify. In fact, it certainly will, and it'll probably get you a pretty lucrative deal. But the proof is in the pudding. If you're not delivering brilliant content, you're not going to be recommissioned.
In late 2024, we then got the Hollywood Reporter article, which was hugely damaging because it really skewered Harry and Meghan in a way that they had never before. And Hollywood is Meghan's turf. This is where she started her career. This is where she was the most popular. And suddenly they were reporting on things that had been reported in the UK press years earlier, alleging that staff were having a miserable time basically working for Harry and Meghan. And that is what had been said years earlier when they were working with palace staff. And this was hugely damaging for Harry and Meghan because these are two camps on different sides of the world who have no common interests really, but they're saying things that are very similar.
When they were in the UK, they had a reputation for being very difficult bosses. There were a lot of staff left when they were working at the palace, and there was allegations that Meghan had bullied them. There was a bullying report, ultimately.
For 5 years, the narrative has been the same. Harry and Meghan, the runaway royals, their popularity plummeting, their every move scrutinised. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if this isn't a story of a fall from grace, but a radical leap into purpose? This isn't a documentary about what went wrong. This is a testament to what went right. Now, The Sun has released a so-called exclusive documentary, a desperate attempt to examine what went wrong. Well, let's start with the truth. Nothing went wrong for the Sussexes. What went wrong was the British media's obsession with controlling them. Harry and Meghan left to find peace, purpose and authenticity. But instead of acknowledging their courage, The Sun continues to paint them as fallen royals, when in reality they've become global powerhouses with influence that no tabloid smear campaign can diminish. So today, my darlings, let's set the record straight. Because while The Sun plays reruns of their own bitterness, Meghan and Harry are living in 4K clarity, evolving, building and shining. They called it Megxit, a term designed to blame and shame. But let's call it what it was, the Great Escape. A bold, unprecedented move to break free from an institution that couldn't protect them, and a media that actively tormented them. The Sandringham Summit wasn't a negotiation. It was a declaration of independence. Harry, a man who watched the press hound his mother to her death, was determined to not let history repeat itself with his wife and children. They didn't run from duty. They ran towards a new one, a duty to their own family, their mental health, and their vision for a life of service on their own terms. Then comes the Sandringham Summit, the day the Sun called the biggest royal story of the century. They proudly remind us how they broke it first. But maybe they should also remind us how they got it. Remember? The Sun published Harry and Meghan's plans to step back before the palace even knew. A deliberate leak and a humiliation strategy that forced the couple's hand. The press didn't just report the story, they manipulated it. They made sure Harry and Meghan would forever be branded as the rogue royals. But here's the twist, my loves. What the tabloids saw as rebellion was actually revelation. That day, Harry broke the generational curse, refusing to let history repeat itself on his wife and children. And for Matt Wilkinson to now refer to Harry as Meghan's spare? Please. That's not journalism. That's playground cruelty dressed as commentary. Harry isn't anyone's spare. He's a man who dared to choose love over protocol, truth over silence, and humanity over hierarchy. When the Sun revisits the Oprah interview, they call it divisive. But you know what's truly divisive? The constant gaslighting of a woman who said she was struggling, and a nation that responded with headlines instead of help. That interview wasn't about tearing down the monarchy. It was about survival, about truth, about saying enough. Then came the Netflix documentary, beautifully shot, raw, human and authentic. And because it wasn't the narrative the UK press could control, they branded it as self-indulgent. But look deeper. It was Meghan and Harry reclaiming their story from those who'd spent years distorting it. The fact that millions streamed it worldwide, not to hate but to understand, speaks volumes. The world was ready to hear their side. The British media just wasn't ready to lose their monopoly on lies. Then came the so-called Spotify disaster. The Sun calls it a failed deal. But let's not forget, Meghan's archetypes topped charts, reached millions and won awards before she even finished her first season. Spotify's internal shake-ups affected countless creators, not just Meghan. Yet the media only branded her difficult. Funny how when women set standards, they're called demanding. But when men do it, it's called leadership. And when US outlets began running their own negative stories, guess what? It wasn't about credibility. It was about clicks. Harry and Meghan's names generate revenue. They're the golden ticket for media giants running on outrage economics. But what they don't realise is that the Sussexes are uncancelable. Their work in mental health, climate advocacy and community upliftment continues quietly, powerfully, beyond the glare of gossip. So, after 5 years, are they winning? Let's look at the metrics that matter. Freedom, they have it. They are raising their children in peace and safety. Platform, they have a direct line to millions, unfiltered by hostile media. Purpose, their Archewell Foundation is operational and impactful. The Invictus Games is more global and powerful than ever. Partnership. Their marriage, by all accounts, is a source of immense strength and joy. They traded a life of service to an institution for a life of service through their own mission. The British media isn't having it because they lost their most valuable assets. The circus can't function without its main attraction. Now, as The Sun closes its documentary with What's Next for the Sussexes, they finally ask the right question, but they're too biased to see the answer. The future isn't about Meghan and Harry begging for British approval. It's about global impact. Critics focus on Harry and Meghan's commercial deals, missing the bigger picture. These partnerships fund their true passion philanthropy through Archewell. Free from royal constraints, they support causes like disaster relief, vaccine equity, and digital safety. Their model blends business with service, ensuring long-term impact. They're not just endorsing causes, they're hands-on leaders driving real change. Profit is the engine, but purpose is the destination. Their work proves that meaningful impact and financial independence can go hand in hand. Harry and Meghan's journey is not one of loss, but of freedom and gain. They have chosen a path that allows them to define their own values and priorities, stepping away from tradition to embrace a life that feels true to themselves. They've built a sanctuary for their family, prioritizing unity and authenticity. Their home is a place where love, laughter, and genuine connection flourish, far from the pressures of royal expectations. Their influence has evolved, connecting with people on a human level and championing mental health, justice, and compassion. They use their platform to raise awareness and spark important conversations that matter to millions. Through Archewell and their media projects, they inspire global conversations and action. Their work reaches across borders, encouraging others to get involved and make a difference. Their greatest success is the strong, loving family they've created. This foundation of love gives them strength to face challenges and continue their mission. They've traded prescribed duty for driven purpose, blending service with independence. Their choices reflect a deep commitment to making a positive impact on their own terms. The backlash they face only underscores their impact and the change they represent. Their willingness to stand up for what they believe in has sparked important debates and inspired others to speak out. So let the sun keep dissecting the past, because the Sussexes are already building the future, one rooted in compassion, freedom, and truth. And here's the irony of it all. Every time the tabloids release another exclusive, they only prove how relevant Harry and Meghan still are. They can't stop talking about them, because deep down they know the Sussexes won. Their legacy is one of courage, family, and positive change. They continue to uplift communities and bring hope to those in need. The Sussexes didn't just steady the ship, they commandeered it, charted a new course, and are sailing into a future they built with their own hands. And from where we're sitting, darlings, the view is absolutely glorious.